Now on your Tuesday morning drive, DJ, Rahm, Spieth, the top three in the world, all in the field as the tour cruises down 17-mile drive to Pebble Beach. As Spieth prepares to defend his title, what's holding back the world number 3? And why is DJ chomping at the bit over the next month in the calendar? We'll explain.
And on the tee from Northern Ireland, Rory McIlroy.
After a solid start to his year in the desert, Rory plays stateside for the first time in 2018. What can we expect from his debut in this event, and how is his game fit for Pebble Beach? And Wellness Week rolls on. We've got a sports dietitian in studio to grade your favorite snacks on the course, plus one of the LPGA's bright young stars and one of the biggest in the world long drive game are here to help you stay fit and keep you firing at pins on the course. Ditch the French toast for avocado toast, or you'll be toast on Wellness Week. It's all ahead on Morning Drive this Tuesday, February 6, 2018. All this talk of toast is making me hungry for breakfast. Good morning. Welcome to Morning Drive. I'm Tom Abbott. He's Robert Dammer, and Lauren Thompson will be along in just a moment. Big week, the AT&T Pebble Beach National Pro-Am. You played there double digits, 10 times.
Several times, 10 times, and I kind of disputed the stats. I thought more than that, but stats
Wishful
typically
thinking.
don't
You told me you'd won there. Wishful thinking.
Right. Well, I just hope that you didn't check to see if I was lying.
Unfortunately, I did. You played with some pretty big stars over the years.
Yeah, I did. It's actually, that's one of the draws of playing Pebble is who's there, all the celebrities. I played with Rush Limbaugh. I played with Bill Murray there, but my favorite was my partner for many years, Dick Ferris, who's CEO, president of Pebble Beach. Essentially, he owns Pebble Beach, let's say.
Always a good
important
strategy.
fella.
Always a good strategy to play with the owner. There's a good chance you're going to get invited back next year. Well, let's take a look at what has happened in history on this day, February the 6th. In time, back to 1971, astronaut Alan Shepard struck one of the most famous golf shots in history. Shepard managed to smuggle a makeshift golf club onto Apollo 14, built for him by a Houston area club pro who connected a 6-iron head to a piece of rock collecting equipment. Shepard covered the club with a sock in order for it not to be discovered. Only a handful of NASA employees knew of Shepard's plan to hit a couple of golf shots on the moon. Where's the most bizarre place you've ever hit a golf shot?
Not the moon. I've putted on a private jet before. But I think if I were to hit on the moon, Dustin Johnson could still outdrive me on this Earth gravity. So I'm not even going to mess with it.
Ball wouldn't come down.
No, well.
Let's see what's ahead on Morning Drive. Here is Lauren Thompson.
That's a good tidbit in history. Wow, and that shot on the moon, out of this world. You get it? Ooh, there's some extra cheese for your omelet this morning. We're glad to have you with us today on Morning Drive. Let's take you into what's happening now in the game of golf. Jordan Spieth defending his 2017 title at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. The 3-time major champion captured his 9th career PGA Tour title here last year, and he did it by 4 strokes over Kelly Craft. So as we get you back to Tom Abbott joining Robert Dammer, and he's not entering this event the way that he would like.
No, he's certainly not. Let's look what happened last week at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. We started round 1. This was at the par 4 5th. Whoa.
Whoop, that takes some athleticism to catch it like that, all in one move.
Good catch, but not a good drive from Spieth. Way right into the gallery. You know how many people are there at the Phoenix Open. You don't want to hit it into the gallery too much. That was up against the fence. It would be a bogey. He moves to +1 at the time. Still in the first round, back to even par. Spieth, 3-foot-4 par to stay even. That was at the 10th, lips it out. He makes bogey back to 1 over. At the 14th hole, now this is fascinating. We haven't seen this. Look at this shot. This Spieth
might be the worst shot I've ever seen Jordan Spieth hit. I guess it didn't take the bounce right it was supposed to, but that was peculiar.
He made a bogey. It was a 72 in round 1 for Spieth. Now battling to make the cut in the second round. He started from the 10th. That was his second hole of the day. Another missed putt, another bogey. Falls to 2 over for the tournament. He was battling back to even par on the round here at his 10th hole of the day. Another lip out, so now in danger of missing the cut. And eventually, his penultimate hole of the day would need to make that to make the cut. And you can see the frustration from Jordan Spieth as he walks off that 8th green. So taking a look at his stats for 2017-2018, some very interesting data here for those interested in the statistics. Spieth ranks first in greens in regulation at 81.67%. That is 3% better than the player in second, Rafael Cabrera Bello. But let's look further down. Driving accuracy, hitting less than 60% of the fairways, ranked 108. His scrambling is pretty poor, and putting through 10 rounds, he is ranked tied for 153rd out of 217 players currently ranked on the PGA Tour. Here's what he had to say after his round on Friday last week. I just need more reps. At the beginning of the year, I thought I had a lot of work to do to get to an A game, A-level game for the Masters. Some years my A game is already there at the start of the year. A game, more reps. Does that remind you of anyone?
I think we could erase Jordan Spieth and put Tiger Woods. It sounds like he stole that from Tiger. Reps, Masters, A game. You know, it's just when you're playing and you're not playing well, and you know, someone of your ilk, a reporter, if you were, comes to you and shoves a microphone in your face, and you say, I got to spew something out and answer some way. So, you know, Tiger was masterful at that, doing that very thing, and Jordan is not much worse.
So what's going on with Spieth?
There's the strangest thing as we're looking through stats, and I don't like to look at stats per se. I never liked to look at them when I was playing, for sure. But so this year, Jordan is first in greens in regulation and 195th strokes gained putting. 2015, his best season, where he won the Masters and U.S. Open, he was 145th in greens in regulation and second in putting. So he's kind of Jekyll and Hyde. He's flip-flopped. He's gone from the best putter on the planet and not, you know, so good hitting greens to just vice versa, the best on the planet hitting greens and can't make a putt.
We're going to talk about his putting. We're also going to talk about his driving as well, because, as you say, those are sort of the two areas where we could really break down what is happening with Spieth. And in terms of the way that he's driving the golf ball, where do you think he needs to sort of work on that side of things?
Well, there is a timing issue that I see. You know, it would take a lot, I think, a lot of hubris for someone to critique the third best player on the planet. So here we go. Let me just do it.
Well, that's what we do.
That's hubris.
That is what we do. I'm
all right.
Head over there. I want to see.
I'll tell you what I
you're
see
talking about
when I see Jordan swinging it. And one thing, we want to go back to this drive right here. We all remember this 13 Open Championship last year. He's got a lead over Matt Kuchar, and look what happens. Whoops. The shot tracer. He's holding his head. He goes, I just lost the claret jug. That's essentially what he thought he had just done. As we all know, miraculously found it off the range. Half an hour later, he made bogey and played the last 5 under. But what do I see that causes that occasionally? And it's not that he's a bad driver, but it just comes out once in a while. So what I've done is I've split screened him here with the absolute best driver on planet Earth, Rory McIlroy. And there's a couple differences. One, there's a modern kind of setup. Used to, guys put more left arm high, little right arm high nowadays. It's not a huge deal. You see they're both that way. They're both in a pretty good setup position. Nothing says really bad drive just yet. But let's go ahead and roll it to the top. I'll show you where some things go a little off with Spieth. See here how his hands are a little higher and the club face is a little more open. Rory's is deeper. It's more behind him. He's got a little bit of a deeper turn, and he's a little more loaded, whereas Spieth's got the club face, like I said, a little open, maybe even a little more laid off, meaning aimed a little to the left. And then if we move down, here's where it gets a little more telling. Now, keep in mind, Jordan's actually left-handed. He's left-hand dominant. So some of this action might be because he's pulling very hard with his left hand. But look how Rory, remember we started right arm high? Look how he's corrected that. All the space between his left arm and right arm, how high that is. And look at his legs. There's no space, no daylight between his legs. Jordan, much less space between his arms, and we see daylight between his legs. That left side has spun out a lot. And look at his hat. His hat's pointed pretty straight, the bill of his hat. Rory's is pointed off towards first base. Rory's hitting into a very firm left side. So that, I think, is why that drive doesn't square up. The face doesn't quite square up. It starts right, stays right, like the one at 13. Now, let's just try to do more of that. Not so much of this, but he's still pretty good. Tom?
Well, let's take a look at who Spieth is going to be facing in the field at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am this week. Some notable players. 9th appearance for Jason Day at Pebble Beach. Interestingly, Ernie Els making just his 2nd appearance in this event. Rory McIlroy making his debut. Spieth and Dustin Johnson both with fond memories of playing at Pebble. It is a great pleasure to welcome in Tim Rosefort, who has his notebook open and ready to go with some interesting nuggets of information. I'm going to start with Dustin Johnson, who's had a little break. He was last playing in Abu Dhabi, wasn't he? Finished tied for 9th. What's he been doing?
A couple weeks off, Tom. I'm surprised you didn't bump into him when you were skiing up in Aspen, or maybe.
I don't actually ski, but
oh, really?
No.
Or following him on social media, him and Paulina. But he rests up for this is the sweet spot of his schedule. The next 4 weeks, 3 of those tournaments, his next 4 tournaments, 3 of them he's defending, and the other one he's won twice, which is Pebble Beach. This is the time of year when he became #1 a year ago. You think about it, and you know, they've tried to get him to play maybe the Honda Classic in his hometown, talking about his management team, but DJ knows what he wants and likes and how he peaks best, and so you're not going to argue with that type of success as he ventures forward here. #1 last year at Riviera, his favorite golf course, and he continues to be that after a year. The other thing about Pebble that he loves, he gets to play with Wayne Gretzky, and usually they're paired up with Jordan Spieth and Jake Owen, so the country singer. So, you know, there's a lot of fun involved in this, and there's also competition as well where he sinks in and plays some of his best golf.
Yeah, I'm guessing they probably played quite a lot of golf together at home.
Over the course of time, exactly.
You undoubtedly watched Gary Woodland win last week in Phoenix. It was an emotional victory for Gary Woodland. We talked a lot about that on the show yesterday with the troubles that he has had away from the golf course, and also the bright spots as well with the new baby. But sort of on a professional level, he's had a lot of help away from the golf course, hasn't he? I know you've been
really
looking into that.
Yeah, Gary's a baller. I mean, he played college and high school basketball, and he likes the team environment. He likes coaches around him. And, you know, in his sense, Butch Harmon's his head coach. He's got Pete Cowan, who you know from England, of course, short game coach. Brad Faxon, great putter, as his putting coach. It would be like having Krzyzewski and Izzo and Calipari, you know, on your basically on your golf bench, and so this is what he responds to. You know, Butch has been with him for a while. The ball striking's always been there. Faxon started working with him this winter down at Old Palm and changed some things in his stroke. He was like way too stiff. He became very static. And from a chipping standpoint, well, you know, you think about what Cowan's done with many players over in the UK and in the European tour, and work with him on some chipping, the way he did Brooks Koepka when they came together and helped Brooks win the US Open. We just saw an example of that chip shot heading right toward the water hazard. You know, in the old days, who knows where it was going to go off of Gary's club, but you think about the improvement that he had in strokes gained putting last week versus last year, the appreciable difference in scrambling numbers. You know, you add that with one of the best talents on tour, and a guy who obviously, and we're still looking at some of the numbers there, dramatic changes after working with Cowan and after working with Faxon, and the Butch stuff has always been there, greens and reg and some of the other, and he hits this great power cut. He's not going to get away from that, although they tried a couple of years ago. So this guy, Tom, you may be seeing at the Ryder Cup, you know, and he projects, if he continue on this pace, he's had a good year so far, obviously topped off with that emotional victory. He's a guy who's going to be in France playing for the U.S. It
is going to be interesting to watch, because that will be a tough team to qualify with the talent level we have in the U.S. But the way that Gary Woodland played last week, you would certainly think that he is going to be on that side. Thanks very much, Tim. You have plenty more to come later in the show. Some interesting nuggets coming up shortly about the PGA Tour champions. But for now, let's head back over to Lauren.
Yeah, Captain Jim Furyk, he's going to have some options, but we now turn our attention to the PGA Tour champions, the Old Course at Broken Sound Club, and a Scott McCarron title defense. Now, last year, he entered the final round in a four-way tie at the top, eventually taking out Carlos Franco and Kenny Perry by a stroke at the Boca Raton Championship. But it's also where you're going to find our own Charlie Reimer, yes, officially making his first start on the senior circuit. And as promised, he's documenting the journey back to the pro ranks. Check this out.
All right, so I got to tell you, this is my first official Champions Tour event, and it's not going very well. My navigation took me to this place. I'm pretty sure this isn't where I belong. Yeah, this is looking a little better. think I'm on the right track now. Uh-oh, security.
You have your credentials?
I do not. They have it in there. I finally figured out where to park my truck. I got registered. And look at my team right here. Like, yeah, they call me the big timer. You didn't know that until just now, did you?
Big timer.
Yeah. Have you ever had more fun playing golf?
Never.
I'm out playing in my first Pro-Am on PGA Tour Champions, right into the all-time great, Hanukkah, and I'm a little nervous about Friday. I remember a situation out in Fort Worth at Colonial where you were a little nervous rolling in, so I'm hoping to maybe get a little tip for Friday.
Breathing part, your pre-shot routine, make sure your knees don't buckle on the first tee.
But what if they do?
If they do, if you fall down, you just get up. Go Charlie.
Sound advice for Charlie Rymer, but let's turn back the clock a bit, see the process. Now, Charlie's last official professional start, it's been 3,948 days between this week and that week in April of 2007. Now, on April 20th, he played the Athens Regional Foundation Classic. Martin Laird won. Robert Dameron finished 5th. Charlie, he missed the cut. Some interesting facts on this day, though. The #1 song, you're listening to it right now, Don't Matter by Akon. #1 movie, Disturbia with Shia LaBeouf. Gas, it was $2.87 a gallon, not too far off from now. Average age of the current top 5 in the official World Golf Ranking, 18.2. That's young, mainly because Thomas and Rahm being teenagers. So let's get you back to Tom Abbott now with our insider Tim Rosafort for more on this. A big week for Charlie Rymer.
It is a big week for Charlie Rymer, but he did have a warm-up at the Diamond Resorts Invitational at the beginning of the year. He did record a top 32 finish.
How many people were playing, Tom?
Well, there were only 32 players in the field, but,
it was
let's
still
not
top
go into the details.
Exactly.
Still a top 32. Now, you were able to talk to some of his fellow competitors coming up this week about Charlie and his chances.
Charlie and his chances. Well, Steve Flesch thinks he's going to have a better chance in the buffet line at player dining than he does on the golf course.
The other players won't
quite
have
honestly.
a chance in the buffet.
Exactly. Nothing left. But, Fleshy thinks this is going to be a wake-up call for Charlie. He's going to go out there and see how good the guys really are. He's a fun guy. He's going to infuse his sense of humor, cut up with the guys. But you're going to see how really serious they are out there about competition, and whether Charlie's ready for that or not, I think was what the general vibe is about whether he can take Charlie the persona and what we see out here on Morning Drive and on Golf Channel and doing his thing, and then out there when he's got to hit shots that really count and matter. Guys work hard in the Champions Tour, or as Flesch said, these guys out here all have ego and want to be great. Hale Irwin, pretty funny, was saying, Charlie who? And he said, oh, the big guy. And I pointed out that Charlie's lost a lot of weight. And he said, well, maybe the little guy and Charlie can be his caddy or something this week. I mean, it's basically the same thing, only thinking I could say everybody comes out in the Champions Tour may not know Charlie's history. They may think of him more as a broadcaster, not knowing that he won a U.S. Junior, I believe it was, and he had a very good college career at Georgia Tech. He's a serious golfer, proper golfer in his day before he became a proper broadcaster. So let's see how Charlie does. There's peer pressure out there that he probably hasn't faced in a long time, which is a big reason why he stepped away, and obviously had some driver issues, so hopefully that's not following him. It'd be great to have our correspondent out on the PGA Tour Champions filling us in with info as well as he does here.
Well, we'll see it beginning Friday on Golf Channel. You mentioned Hale Irwin there.
Yeah.
It's actually on a serious, Charlie is serious, but on a more serious
Oh,
side
yeah,
of
on a
things.
definitely more serious.
You look at Hale Irwin, you look at Bernhard Langer, and there's a record there. There's Langer is chasing records that Irwin set.
Yeah, Langer is at 36 career victories. Irwin's at 45. It's a mark nobody thought anybody would ever come close to. And Langer's still 9 away in his early 60s. It's quite a task if he's ever going to catch Irwin. But Irwin takes great pride in this. And it's interesting that these two players, you go back to the Ryder Cup, the War at the Shore, the match that they played, that they're kind of chasing the same thing now. But Irwin told me, a lot of guys, when they get to PGA Tour Champions, have the record that Irwin had with 3 majors, don't really care about this circuit. But this has been a legacy builder for him, and he's proud of it, and he's proud that Langer wants to go out at his number, and he's basically saying good luck because he knew what it was like once he got into his 60s, how the concentration isn't the same as it used to be. He had a hamstring injury that really knocked him out and didn't make him as competitive as he wanted to be. So Irwin, he's a guy who takes great pride in what he did post 50, and let's see if Langer can, over these next couple of years, can keep it interesting. He's got to win 2 to 3 a year, you'd think, Tom, at least to make it close before he gets quote unquote too old. So let's see. It's sort of the game within the game on PGA Tour champions.
With what he has been doing, you'd think that was absolutely
exactly.
possible. And people were talking about him contending at the Masters.
Exactly.
So it'll be interesting to watch. Hale Owen, by the way, still plays a handful of events on the champions into his 70s. So he'll be playing this week. Lauren, what have we got coming up on Morning Drive?
Well, Bernhard Langer still practices just as hard, too, so you know he's going to take aim at that and try and accomplish it. But looking at our tee sheet, still on the way. We're going to keep Wellness Week going strong as we take a turn to workouts. You know what they can do for your body, but you're about to join up with some pros in the gym. A 4-time PGA Tour winner in Brian Gay, freshman tie for 9th in Scottsdale, and a winning long driver in Troy Mullins. The move she does to get all of that power, that's coming up. Now another player that's known for being fit, J. Marie Green, but this LPGA member doesn't just talk the talk. She has plans to hang with us for quite a while this morning, so we're going to get her take on wellness in the game. I'm also going to even try to mimic her gym moves right here in Golf Channel. But then we're going to get back to our defending champion at Pebble Beach this week, Jordan Spieth, coming from a missed cut at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. Now his usual glory on the greens needing to be revived, and our PGA Tour pro is going to take you inside something that he spotted, how Spieth can get back to being a putting marksman and what to look for if this is happening in your game as well. Now something else we know you're interested in, food. It's a big part of keeping that energy up on the course. Now we put this out on social media. It's our Twitter poll of the day. What is your favorite snack on the course? Do you go to chocolate? Probably something that you don't want to melt in your golf bag, but nonetheless, something a lot of people like to snack on. Peanut butter and jelly, beef jerky, or other. Cast your vote. Give us those responses. A registered dietitian is going to be coming in, and she's going to be grading your go-to snacks. So keep a lookout for that. And that's just one part of Wellness Week. But we're covering all the bases here on Morning Drive. So our equipment insider, he's ready to take it up a notch. Matt Adams, what do you have on deck?
Look good, feel good, play good. Puma says you can have it all, fashion and performance, coming up.